Mr. President.
I recognize the senator from Oklahoma.
Mr. President, the vote we're talking about is to waive the budget point of order in order to raise that was raised by Senator Enzi. If the budget point of order is not waived, the NDAA, which I believe is the most significant vote that we pass every year, it's passed for 58 consecutive years, will be referred back to committee. So that's really what's at stake here. And the budget point of order on the NDAA is primarily caused by three provisions. Mr. President, first, repealing the widow's tax phased in over 3 years. We've been talking about that. That's part of this this point of order. Secondly, giving visas to Afghans who worked closely with the United States military during the war. And third, allowing military service members to file claims for medical malpractice. Now, all three provisions have significant bipartisan support. The widow's tax, as was just stated, has 76 co-sponsors in the Senate, had 383 in the House. A vote in this chamber in late September to instruct conference on the widow's tax passed 94-0. You might keep that in mind. Anyone who talks now about opposing it, they actually voted for it back in September. Now, as I mentioned in my remarks last night, I started working to repeal the widow's tax after being inspired by one of my personal heroes, a young lady named Jane Horton. I can remember back in September of 2011, I was in a little town north of Tulsa, Oklahoma, Collinsville, Oklahoma, and I was up there talking to people in the normal type of thing that we do and going around speaking with our constituents. And I recall that that's when I first met Jane Horton. She lived in Collinsville. And after I had visited for a while with the group, I commented that, you know, I'm the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, and I'm going to be going to Afghanistan in the next in this next week. And she said, well, her husband, Chris Horton, was also right at that moment was in Afghanistan. And after I made the statement, I said, well, let's find out where he is. And I did. I checked into it, arranged to go by to see him as I left for Afghanistan. But I didn't, because on September the 9th, 2011, Chris Horton was killed in action. Now, after all Jane sacrificed by losing her husband in the line of duty, it seemed unimaginable to me that she should have to deal with the further pain of a dollar-for-dollar offset in her benefits as a Gold Star spouse. So we've worked with Jane and other Gold Star spouses for a long time to figure out how we could do this in a responsible way. That hasn't been talked about so far, but we did it. So it spreads it over a period of time. Similarly, supporting our Afghan partners who sacrificed so much to help us help their country has long been a bipartisan priority. And everyone involved in this conference, including the Department of Defense, recognized the importance of fixing the medical malpractice issue in a common sense fashion. I understand my colleagues' concern. We've worked hard to make each of these provisions fiscally responsible, and we'll continue to do that. You know, there's a document that nobody reads anymore. It's called the Constitution. And the Constitution says that our top priority should be here, defending America. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Each of these provisions enable us to better defend America and allow us to take up this bill and actually pass it so for the president to sign. So I urge you to vote to allow this bill to move into a final passage so we can send this legislation to the president's desk, where he said he would sign it immediately, and he will. By doing so, we'll send a clear message to our troops and our adversaries that this body is serious about America's national security.